Hi, this is Meredith Arena, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience with this community of opportunity this year. Um, first off, I was mostly teaching an English 101 hybrid class that was 2 times a week on Zoom, and the rest of the class was in Canvas. And before I talk about my main project, I'll just say that throughout the reading and the conversations, and even through experiencing the modality that the course was delivered in, I learned about a lot of new things that I then tried in my courses. So what you're looking at right now is a liquid syllabus, which is available online, which we read about and I tried out. I actually don't think that this works very well for English 101 for several reasons about like access and what students have access to, but it was really nice to put it together and to know how to do it. Um, and the other thing I learned about is using hypothesis for annotations because we annotated work in hypothesis. And it's a group annotation tool. And I started using this in the spring, a little later than when I did my action research, but just to say that this is something that came out of that community that I practiced there and was then really excited about. And we talked a lot about engagement with students, and so I was also encouraged to do things like using Padlets or different spaces for students to experiment. And you can see on this Padlet, there's places where students responded to with video and in writing, and or audio and writing. So I think that that's all really neat. But I'll go into my main project, which was that in my Zoom classes, I launched every day at the end of the class in the last 5 minutes, I launched a survey that had some very basic questions that asked students to like kind of evaluate their own participation, not really evaluate, but report on. So where they got to tell me how they participated. So you're looking here at a very standard one. This is from the first, it says numbered, it's number one, so it's the first class. So a really simple survey here, ways you participated today. They had a drop-down menu and they could choose any of these that they wanted to. And so that included like just leaving your camera on as a way of participating, unmuting, answering a question, sharing in the chat. And this was a chance to say, for them to say, hey, I did participate today, because I think oftentimes when you're teaching a big class on Zoom, it's hard to notice. So it showed me what they were doing, but also showed them what they were doing and what they might do differently next time, or like a way for them to celebrate if they did do something that they felt brave about, they could say it here. This is a simple first day survey, so just a reflection about the class. And so their names are here. This gives me a really good sense about where they're at, um, and how they're experiencing the class. And maybe I will or won't respond directly to something I see here, but it's giving me a sense as we're going through the course. And if there is something that comes up in these more open reflection questions, then I was able to look at the survey briefly right after class and respond right away. And really, every student always took the survey because it was sort of attached to attendance. They reported their own attendance at the end of the class, but um, they also knew that I was going to be looking at these to see if they were coming to class, so I could also see like, oh, this student was there for a minute, but they were not there at the end of class. So it sort of helped me sort of see and reach out to students if they weren't participating or staying in class for the whole time. So I'll just show you a couple more of these. These are sort of randomly selected. Um, Here is one where they're reporting on, like they're describing their work in class. Um, So describe your work in class today. What did you work on? How was it helpful? So there's not really a judgment there. I'm usually not asking them, did you do good or bad? Never asking them that. Um, but it gives them a chance to say what they did, and I can understand how they participated. Um, Here's another example, and this specifically was when we were involved in our major assignment number 2. And so I really use this survey to help them track, like, we're working on it. Have you done this part? Can you commit to doing it? What are your next steps? And this helped me assess, do they know what their next steps are? So this is like, they had a drop down menu for this. So I can see what they thought their next steps were, and also reach out to them if they were missing something. I think this was around the time where I wanted them to look at their grades. Have you checked out your grade? Do you have any questions? Um, And then questions or reflections, and this was really helpful for me because I could respond directly to them. And so if a question came up many, many times, I can respond to the whole class. But if there's just one question, then I could just email the student and respond to them. Here's from the starting out with the major assignment number 2. Do you have a question about it? Again, how did you participate? So this is when they first learned about their major assignment. What is one thing you feel you are learning or getting better at this quarter? This is an assessment question. It's a drop-down menu. It does include, it's not written in the language of SLOs because there's actually some added things here like critical, like time management, and some really specific tasks like, are you taking notes when you read? Are you doing this? So just, this is for me to know what they're learning, but also for them to look at what they're learning and think about. And then here, from the list of the above, what is something you still want to work on? So this really helped me towards the end of the quarter understand like what might I add a lesson about or add something about or give them some more support with. And then this last one looks like this is the very last class, sharing overall about their participations. This is like the meta thing, sorry, where I asked them like, how did you feel about the surveys? um, and like so that they could share like how was it to report back with me every day using these surveys. So um, overall I want to say that this was a really helpful community to be part of. I would have never collected all this data otherwise, and it helped me really think about the meaning of doing this, especially in an online learning environment where student engagement looks very different than we want it to look, and is often happening when we don't know what's happening, but also we're also often losing engagement when we are even when we're trying very hard to get engagement. And so this was a way to get students to engage more, for me to know, for them to know that I was listening to them and reading what they were saying, and also for me to like do these very like in the moment assessments twice a week throughout the quarter. So that's my reflection. I hope I answered all the questions. Thank you.